Well, it is clear. Don't drink and drive. Avoiding drinking and driving is essential, especially around this time. But it appears a lot of people take it for granted when the Yuletide is approaching. That is why today we're having a conversation on drink driving and its impact on people. And so on that note, we shall introduce our guests shortly as we have this conversation with the Ghana Road Safety Authority. Joining the discussion, Acting Director General David Osafo Adonting. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, my brother, and thank you very much for asking me to join you this morning.
Right. Now, from the standpoint of the Ghana National Road Safety Authority, we do know that this year has not been as bad as last year in terms of the metrics that we are seeing by way of accidents on our roads. But how much of a concern is it that we still have so many crashes? The latest that we've seen, captured by the Ghanaian Times newspaper today, Ataniata, 11 children killed in a road crash. How bad has it been this year?
Thank you very much. Good morning, and then to your cherished listeners and viewers also. Indeed, this year, I must say that we have experienced quite some horrific crashes in the past 11 months up to the end of November. What is motivating us, however, is that if you compare the situation to the same period last year, we have made some significant gains in terms of reductions in the crashes, in the deaths, and the injuries, which we call the CID. I can say with the statistics that is available to us from the Ghana Police Service that we have made some 18% reductions in the deaths, 6% reductions in the crashes, and a marginal about 0.3% reductions in the injuries compared to the same period last year. This is very significant because it is not easy as a country to minimize or reduce your crashes, your injuries, and your deaths. In fact, it's very unprecedented because if you look at our history, the past 20 years, we haven't had these indicators coming down, all of them in this sense. So I think that I commend the interventions that are on the ground. I must say that the media in particular, multimedia, I must commend you so much for your Drive Safe campaign and all the others who supported the Stay Alive and the Arrive Alive Road Safety campaign in the past 3 years, ruled by the National Road Safety Authority. Beyond that, I must also commend the police for supporting this Stay Alive campaign, Arrive Alive campaign, with enforcement, which they started with the war against indiscipline. And now we can see them rolling what we call PARIS, police action against rider indiscipline and the rest. But we still haven't gotten there where we want to be. We are still recording the crashes. Anyway, over 1,900 deaths have been recorded already in 10 months this year. So we still have a problem at hand. And moving into Christmas, it makes it even more riskier to record more deaths because if you look at our history, it clearly tells us of figures going up as a result of the overpopulation of road users, vehicles on our roads. Getting to Christmas, people want to travel more, so you see more vehicles on our road. You see a lot of people, a lot of activities, and beyond that, merrymaking, church-going, parties, and so on. Unfortunately, some of these come about people not becoming alert and indisciplined in terms of using alcohol and drugs to excite themselves. And unfortunately, in Ghana, when we talk about merrymaking, one of the things we see associated with it is drinking. Now, people forget themselves when they drink, then they go and sit behind steering wheel. Others will want to use the alcohol to activate their capacities to do more work in terms of driving than before. For example, you go to the lorry terminal, you're a commercial vehicle operator, and you see so many people anxious and desperate to travel to their various destinations in numbers, and you are tempted to do 1, 2, 3 more of what you used to do in terms of the journey. Now, what some of them perhaps deceive themselves with is to take drugs or take alcohol, which in that case, to them, we'll let them do more, we'll give them the strength. Unfortunately, it deceives them because it increases your reaction time, your alertness, your concentration and focus is disturbed.
Right.
In this case, unfortunately, you have a deception. I think you are on top of the world. You feel so good in the road space. But that is where the problem comes up. And so we have now rolled up a plan and a program to sensitize Ghanaians. Everybody must listen to us because we're on the field. We know what is happening. And we are saying that alcohol is one of the contributing factors to road crashes during festive seasons like the Christmas, the New Year, and so on. And so we have started this awareness station, of which I must commend you for taking it up to support the National Road Safety Authority.
Let me find out from you. So I've been taking a look in preparing for this conversation at some of our driving and drinking statistics and the fatalities. And in 2015, there was a bit of research conducted, a survey basically. So some 2,000 plus, 2,700 plus drivers were stopped and they were breathalyzed. And guess what? Over 8% of them had some amount of alcohol within their system, and over 5% of them had beyond what was required. That is the 0.08%. What do you think we should be doing in that respect in terms of breathalyzing drivers, especially those who do long journeys and all of that? Because that's what we foresee during the season, and that usually is where the carnage happens.
I think that, first of all, the statistics you just put up the reality, and that is the figures we have currently. If you take every 100 or any 100 drivers on the streets now, you're likely to have an average of about 5 to 5.5% of them taking alcohol. And like I said, they have their own reasons for taking the alcohol, but there are reasons that will not help them or support them. In any case, we have identified, and so we have indeed created interventions to address this problem. One is the awareness creation, which we are doing now, because some of them, they do not know the adverse repercussions when they take the alcohol. And so we are using awareness creation to sensitize them so that they know the bad aspects of taking alcohol to drive. Again, the best practice across the world, apart from education and sensitization, is enforcement. Indeed, the law has provided a 0.08 BAC, that's breath alcohol content. It's an index and a measure for us to know that if your blood alcohol content, through which we know the quantity of alcohol within you and the damage it can cause to you, if it goes beyond 0.08, then it means that you have taken something more than the law stipulates. The law is being enforced by the police currently, using breathalyzers. Unfortunately, you cannot do it everywhere, and so you find some of them escaping the police apprehension. But coming this season, we have met with the IGP. We have strategized that the police are going to populate the road space with their officers, holding these breathalyzers and then checking the police intermittently along the road space, especially on the highway, which means that no driver is now going to take the law into his own hands, drive and drink. We are going to use enforcement to stamp down on alcohol and drink driving. So I want to take advantage of this opportunity to advise all drivers to desist from drinking alcohol. In fact, our road safety inspectors will be at lorry terminals, the major lorry terminals, and will be monitoring this. Because as you're aware, we are challenged by the fact that lorry stations and terminals, there are a lot of joints there where they sell food, at the same time sell alcohol. It is very close to them. Even though we have ensured that most of them don't go there to drink, they have other means of getting out of the terminal to do their own thing. But some even have them in their pockets and in a form of soda packs and so on. So we are monitoring all these. We know what they do. And so we have strategized, we have put our road safety inspectors on board. Some of them, we call them an undercover road safety inspectors. They will be part of the passengers in back, traveling with them, and will be monitoring. To you, the driver is a passenger. But to us, the National Road Safety Authority is an undercover road safety inspector, a kind of a road safety nurse, kind of. And I think that we will try to monitor the behavior of drivers in terms of alcohol, drugs, and other misbehavior and practices to come down on these, so that we don't get ourselves in what used to be 10 people died, 20 people died, 6 people died in the past through road traffic crashes in festive seasons of Christmas and New Year.
Right, and I like how you spoke about road safety analysis, whatever, who will be on the roads, ensuring that they are undercover and they'll spot some of these things and bring them to the national lenses, or at least to the authorities, so we can avoid those crashes like the one that claimed the lives of 11 children. But earlier this morning, in a conversation with an energy analyst, Kojo Poku, this bit about road crashes came up, and he made the point that in Ghana, a lot of people know how to drive, but they do not know how to drive. They've not been properly educated on driving. His point being that we know how to move a car, but some of the simple regulations, you are at a roundabout, who has the right of way? On the motorway, at what speed should you be going? If you're using the right lane, if you're using the left lane on some urban roads, what do they imply? Why do some people use certain lanes when in fact their cars are going very slowly, like some of these Pragyas and other vehicles that slow people down? And you know what that means? A lot of people are in a hurry. These ones slow you down. You want to go past them, accident. So what then has been your collaboration with the DVLA to educate, ensure that everyone on the road is educated, and maybe re-educate those of us who have been driving for quite a while? What's going on in that regard?
I think this problem, I would not deny the fact that to some extent I would agree with our good friend who made the submission.
Right.
But things are gradually changing. In fact, in the past, to get a driver's license at DVLA was very easy. Sometimes you need to go through certain channels, the gurus, and so on, and you get it. I'm told those days you may even be at home and you get your driver's license all right. But things are changing. Now, DVLA systems are automated. It will be difficult for anybody to sit at home and get a driver's license. You need to go through a certain driving school, get some skills training, and then apply. DVLA will scrutinize electronically. And so before you even go through the pass mark of the test, which is also now automated, I think that you have gone through a certain procedure and processes which might have then empowered you adequately for you to, guarantee you a valid driver's license. So I would say that the problem used to be there in a high scale, on a very high scale, but now we are putting in systems to minimize that. A lot more people are going through the driving school. DVLA system is now scrutinizing better than before. So we are now producing better drivers than the past 10 years, past 5 years. I know that moving forward, we will scale it up to an extent that now to get a license, a driver's license in Ghana would have to be merrymaking, like it is done in the US and the UK everywhere. Things are not that easy again. And so we will just request that Kenyans will remain patient. We are using technology at an advanced stage at DVLA. The National Road Safety Authority very soon will be rolling up a mandatory training for all commercial vehicle drivers. Without which, if you don't produce a certificate of going through a driver's training, you would be denied your driver's license or renewal or upgrading of your driver's license. And we're starting next year.
Right.
So I must say that Sankofa, we have left some gaps for some time. Now things are changing. We are now making it up. And so that is why I can firm up with you that the figures are now reducing. 18% reduction in deaths on road traffic crashes compared to last year is significant, and it's a clear demonstration that some positive interventions are on the ground. And come next year, when the police are also able to now introduce their camera system, where cameras are now going to detect, apprehend, and prosecute, I am sure we will get somewhere. So it's a matter of patience.
All right.
And we are working a lot around the clock to get all these systems in place in the coming year.
I want us to wrap this conversation in just about a minute, and I just want to know, so what other best practices can you proffer, not just for this Christmas, because it often feeds into the new year, some of these road crashes, and that leads to a spike often between December and January. What other best practices would you proffer for all of us as we wrap 2022? And that will be your final word for us.
I think that moving forward, the next year and beyond, we are going to adopt technology in road safety management. Almost every practice, be it education, enforcement, licensing, registration, and all that will now be automated or digitized.
Right.
Technology will help us to identify very quickly and deal with. They will take off issues of human intervention. And so there is nobody personally sitting somewhere to approve your driver's license, or for that matter, I let you go even if you flout a traffic law. Systems are going to be in place, and people are not going to go scot-free for flouting road traffic regulations and laws.
Right.
You'll be fine, and all these electronic systems, which I guarantee you that will come in place next year, will come to support all the things we are doing. So,
just give me a fair idea. Which ones are we? Are we talking breathalyzers? Are we talking traffic equipment? What are we talking?
We're talking about mainly 6 cameras in place, and you will find them like some of them you are seeing now in the city of Accra, the surveillance cameras. But this time, they are traffic enforcement cameras, very advanced. They will be supported by in-vehicle cameras. Cameras will be fixed in vehicles. The vehicles will be traveling with us on the road. All it does is that they are identifying misbehavior,
right,
and then sending information to a control room, and then you'll be apprehended. Wherever you are, you'll be gotten to. And then we hand over a fine to you, which you go and redeem yourself at a pay point. Just as it's done in Europe and the rest. I think we are going to transform the entire road safety management system, especially in enforcement, to make our roads better than it is currently.
Engineer Adonting, we're grateful that you took the time to join us. Engineer David Osafo Adonting is Acting Director at the National Road Safety Authority. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And that is what he had to share with us. Of course, as we approach this season, we ought to drive carefully, but even more importantly, not drink and drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. And if you're going to drink, don't drive. It's as simple as that. Stay with us on the AM show. There are a lot more conversations we have lined up. And at the tail end, we shall take your thoughts on the discussions we've been having today. We'll be right back.